Hello and welcome to Yoga with Molly Jo. So today I'm just going to go through some very basic beginner stretches that we can do. Can be as short as 5 minutes, can be all the way up to half an hour. I don't think that there's any bad amount of time to practice yoga. However often we can come to a place of connection with breath and body is good. For our yoga practice, there's just a few things that you'll want. A yoga mat to practice on, and I definitely recommend having a strap, as well as bolsters, 2 of them. And without those things, it's fine. But if you have those things, I definitely think that they make the practice much more enjoyable. And a blanket you can also use. This is just a typical wool blanket folded into 8s. And there's more about that to come. If you have questions, you can always reach out to me. So let's just go ahead and begin lying on our backs on the ground. I'll bring my head closer to you so you can hear me. Just begin in a nice, comfortable, reclined position. This is a great place to come into awareness of the breath. Sometimes it feels nice to bring one hand to the belly and one hand to the heart. And then you can tangibly feel your breath as the inhales rise and as the exhales fall. Coming into this place of observant breathing is the first step to wellness. Taking an opportunity to let all the other responsibilities, all the other tensions that exist within us mentally and physically, to let them simply melt away. For our first practice of yoga, we can start to narrow the breathing through the nostrils if it's possible. Try sealing the lips and seeing if you can breathe in and out through the nose. And whether or not that's possible, now we can begin to extend the length of the inhale and the exhale. Seeing if we can manage a deep, mindful breath as often as possible, whether we're on our mat or off. Finally, we can work to even out the breath. So allow it to be steady and fluid rather than choppy or sporadic. And from here we can just begin to take some gentle movement, letting the toes wiggle, the fingertips, maybe rolling out the ankles and the wrists, and start to bend the knees into the chest, hugging on to the tops of the legs and just swaying back and forth, seeing if you can release tension through the low back here, working to keep all 4 corners of the spine pressed into the earth while we take these rolls. All the while maintaining a deep, steady breath. Now, if it's possible, to move that rhythm of rolling vertically along the spine, back and forth, up and down. And we can use this rhythm of rocking and rolling along the spine to inhale ourselves up to a seated position. You can stay facing the way you are. And from here, you can clear the flesh away from the sits bones so that you start to feel a connection of the sits bones into the earth below you. This is where it might be nice to have a blanket. You can use the blanket to prop the flesh up so that the sits bones come into deeper contact with the floor. You can also use a block if you need a little bit more height to lift yourself up, but just play around with what is comfortable and what helps you find a nice, comfortable seated position. And then start to take inventory of the body. Maybe you need to rock the pelvic floor forward and backwards, finding that even connection. Maybe we can start to roll the shoulders up towards the ears, down the spine, opening the chest. Again, working on that deep, steady breath. And when you find a place of stillness, notice if the shoulders are hunched forward, if we're leaning down as we have a tendency to do in our culture, or if we're sitting up nice and tall, maybe even reaching back slightly to find that place where we have a long neutral spine or something close to it. From here, we can start to extend the legs long and maybe just shake them out here a little bit. For many of us, we have tight hamstrings, and so it feels good just to stretch them out a little bit, forward and backward. Just doing some really gentle movement here. Now we can integrate a forward fold. So this might not feel good to you. Your hamstrings might be super tight. So I like to bring the knees up and let the rib cage connect with the tops of the thighs here. From there, if it feels good, you can start to scoot the feet forward, keeping your heart reaching forward, trying to keep the rib cage in contact. So you might only come out to here, and that's fine if you're feeling a stretch through the hamstrings, if you're keeping your core engaged, lifting up and forward through the heart. This is a great stretch. Still, we're working on the core foundation, which is deep, mindful breathing through the nose if possible. From here, we can start to release the legs and lift ourselves back into a tall seated position. That seated forward fold is called staff pose or Dhanurasana. So this is a very helpful pose for all of us just to work through stretching the hamstrings and sitting up nice and tall. From here, we can bring the feet to touch and let the knees come wide. You can play around with bringing your heels closer and closer to the pelvic floor, but only go as far as feels good. We want yoga to be challenging, but not painful. Again, if it feels good, you can start to lean forward here, always keeping awareness of that long neutral spine. And the work of this pose is in opening through the pelvic floor and in stretching through the back. So just breathe deeply and steadily, reaching forward with the heart. And then as you exhale, come up off of that stretch. We'll extend the legs long again, maybe shake them out a little bit. And we can start to move the blanket away as we come back down onto, well, first, I forgot. If you want to, and this might not be comfortable for you, but if it's comfortable, coming to hands and knees, this is called tabletop position. We can try to work to let the knees stack below the hips, the wrists stack below the shoulders, spreading evenly through all 10 fingers and really feeling ourselves root from the knuckles of all 4 fingers and thumb. From here, we work to keep that long neutral spine. So there's a feeling of activating the tailbone towards the back wall and the crown of the head, the top of the head, towards the front wall. Lifting the belly button up towards the spine will keep the core engaged. This is a neutral tabletop position. From here, we can start to stretch out the spine by inhaling to lift the chin and chest up, bringing the gaze to the ceiling. As you exhale, tilting the tailbone in as you round each vertebrae of the spine and drop the chin to the chest. Moving with your breath, repeat that. Inhaling to roll one vertebrae at a time, chin and chest lifting, gaze reaching towards the sky, tailbone is lifting, and as you exhale, tilt the tailbone down and round the spine, lifting the chin towards the chest. We'll do that a few more times. Breathing deeply, moving slowly with your breath. Feeling this nice opportunity to stretch out the spine. Like a very affordable massage. After you've completed those rounds, we'll return to a long neutral spine, and to prepare for child's pose, we'll spread the knees nice and wide, let the toes come to touch, and start to push your sits bones back towards your heels. Ultimately, we want to be reaching our forehead towards the earth and the sits bones towards the heels. This is another nice place to potentially bring your blanket or a block, setting it on top of the heels between your tailbone and your feet. It will bring your heels a little bit closer to your sits bones so that you can really rest here. We want this to be a surrendering ease pose, so a place where we can just breathe and let gravity support us surrendering. Take a few more deep breaths through the nose. And as you're ready, we can start to walk the hands back up. We can start to bring maybe the knees a little bit closer together, spreading the feet out wide. This will be a deep stretch all along the tops of the thighs. So for me, my sits bones are fully rooted on the floor, but again, this is a great place to have a block or a blanket, something that you can use to bring the floor a little higher so that you can really let your sits bones rest, because we don't often stretch this portion of the body. And from here, we just want to sit up nice and tall, breathing in deeply, still feeling an engagement through the core as the belly lifts close to the spine, the shoulders lift up towards the ears and back. And just breathe. Take a couple more full breaths here. And as soon as you're ready, you can start to remove the block or the blanket if you have one. Use your hands to support you as you walk yourself back down into a seated position. We'll just do a couple more stretches here. And if you have a strap, this is a great place to use it. So let's start by just holding the knees into the chest and rolling out a little bit again. And then we can use that strap to wrap around the feet as you lift them up to the sky. We really want to keep the feet activated here, so we're pressing into the strap with the feet just as much as we're pulling on the strap, on our feet with the strap. And then the toes are nice and active, And we can start to feeling this deep stretch through the hamstrings, trying to let the back fully rest on the earth. We can start to use the strap maybe to guide our feet a little bit closer to our body as we're breathing in deeply. And use the breath to support this movement here. So with every inhale, you can feel a sense of lengthening through the feet, through the legs, and as you exhale, feel a sense of surrender as the legs maybe drop just a hair back towards the body. As you find your next exhale, let the right leg go, keeping the left leg lifted. And just hold here for a few moments, inhaling to find space and length, exhaling to bring the leg just a tad back to the face. If it feels good, you can roll the ankle out here. It's really important to keep these muscles and ligaments active and lubricated, and this really helps to do that. So this is a nice opportunity to do a little bit of movement we don't often have time for. Still breathing deeply and consciously. As you're ready, we'll exhale to drop the left foot towards the left, opening through the hips here. If you feel the sensation of your right shoulder pressing into the floor, that will help keep you grounded and make this a nice opening for the back and a stretch on the spine as well. Feel active through the toes of the right foot and the left. And just breathe deeply. Take a few breaths here, and as you're ready, we'll inhale the left leg up. And then we can bring the right leg to switch with the left and let the left leg fall, and just take a moment to notice the difference between the right and the left side body here. If it felt good to do it on the other side, we should do it on this side as well. So we'll roll out the ankle here, going in both directions. It's taking an opportunity to give some nourishment to the parts of the body that don't get a whole lot. Inhale to find length, exhale to maybe send that leg a little bit further back, feeling that deep stretch through the hamstring, through the foot, through all of the leg. And as you're ready, we'll exhale, opening up the right leg. And again, we'll feel that sense of rootedness, sending the left shoulder down deeply into the earth. Breathe steadily and deeply here. As you find your next inhale, we'll lift that right leg back to the sky, and then we'll switch again, bringing the left leg into the strap, setting the right leg down, and then we'll bring the right leg across the body the other way this time, bringing a spinal twist into this. So from here, we still want to keep both the right and left shoulder actively pressed onto the ground, and maybe bring the gaze over the left side of the body to extend the feeling of the twist. And just breathe deeply. Using that inhale to fill up with spaciousness, exhaling to deepen into this peaceful place. As you're ready, we'll inhale, slowly lift the left leg back to the sky, and one last time we'll switch, bringing that right leg into the strap as the left leg extends down long. And as you're ready, we'll drop the right leg across the body, switching the strap into the left hand as we let the right arm fall open, working to keep that right shoulder grounded, maybe bringing the gaze over towards the right fingertips, breathing steadily. Just a few more deep breaths here. And as you're ready, we'll inhale the right leg back to the sky. You can release the strap and let the right leg fall to the ground with the left. And just notice how you feel here. This is called Shavasana pose, when you release everything and lie in complete surrender. And let yourself notice the sensations, notice the benefits of that very small amount of stretching that we did. And seeing if you can take just a few more moments to let all the other distractions and worries of the world melt away. They'll be waiting for you at a later time. You can take as much time in Shavasana as you wish. Whenever you're ready to come out, you can start to gently bring awareness back into the body, just how we did at the beginning of the practice, by wiggling fingers and toes, rolling out ankles and wrists, hugging knees into the chest. And you can roll onto whichever side feels best, using your arm to support you, lifting yourself back into a comfortable seat. Taking a moment to acknowledge your practice, the miraculous abilities of your breath and your body. Thank you for taking the time to nourish yourself. The light within me honors and bows to the light within you. Namaste.